What are you doing? What do you do?
Stinks.
No! Don't tell them my secret.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Junkyard Digs. Today we resume work on our 1972 Cutlass S that sat in a Texas shed for the last 23 years. We've got a lot of mechanical work to do and a long drive home, so let's get it done.
Stick with us until 5 p.m. for the weather report. This has been channel junkyarddigs.com news. Thank you very much.
What's happening?
Have a blessed day.
I'm blessed because we're down south. Alright, so for a quick recap, if you missed part one, this is our 1972 Cutlass S. It's a Baroque gold car with air conditioning and all the molding options you could ever order, alongside a two-barrel carb and drum front brakes. We've traveled all the way down to Henderson, Texas to pick this up, and we're going to fix it and travel all the way back to Iowa with it. We threw a battery in, threw a gas tank in, sanded the points and got it running, and then put new tires on and wiggled it back and forth until one of the wheels unseized, and then drove it around the yard and gave it a much needed bath. To start things off today, we're going to dive right into my favorite thing, which is brakes. Interestingly enough, Mook, one of these has fluid in it, and the inside of this reservoir looks really nice and clean.
Can't say anything. Heck. We'll just have to take your word for it, Kevin.
Yeah, I guess so. Before we left for this trip, we hopped on Rock Auto and bought ourselves $900 worth of parts that would cover every single component I could possibly think of to fail on this car. It's not something we usually do. Usually we go to the nearest O'Reilly's because we don't plan ahead for crap and end up spending 3 times as much money and have to wait a day or two for parts to show up. But in an ironic turn of events, since we have everything for this car so far, we've needed very little. When I was driving this around the yard, the pedal actually popped loose and started traveling all the way just fine. So are the seals in the master good? Probably not. Is it worth putting some fluid in and seeing if they come back to life before this giant bug kills me? Maybe. Bug says no. Bug says new master cylinder, but we don't have that yet. So let's throw some fluid in this and pump it and see if we get any bubbles. That'll be a good sign as to whether or not we have a shot in hell at this one. Gently. Gently.
We're all watching.
Thank you guys for doing so, by the way. If you like this video, leave a comment below and a like on it. And beyond that, maybe consider sharing it. It helps the channel grow and it helps us afford things like this to bring you guys free entertainment right here on YouTube. I'm going down.
It quacked. Oh, one bubble in the back. Oh, bubbles in the back.
That's the stiffer part of the pedal.
A lot of bubbles.
So here's the trick that I actually learned, ironically, on the last pretty much identical oldsmobile Cutlass S made in 1972 in a form of gold paint color that we did brakes on, sitting in a storage unit for 35 years in Kansas. When you're bleeding a GM master cylinder, the trick is, instead of full sweeps, it takes forever to bleed, I'll do a couple full sweeps to make sure all the seals are wet after there's been fluid in it for a minute or two. And then I go all the way down and just oscillate the last ½ inch, which is what I'm doing right now, and you can see the amount of bubbles coming out of that. I will do that at the very bottom of the stroke of the pedal for a little while until the bubbles stop, and then I'll come all the way up and do just the first ½ inch for the opposite reservoir until all the bubbles stop. Then once that's all done, do a few full strokes and you should see no more bubbles. Down. Yeah, this thing's junk. Well, Mook, I believe our weird duck noise that we're hearing is the seals inside that master cylinder slipping along their bore because they are junk and it moves no fluid whatsoever. Looks like we're waiting until we get a new master cylinder in stock, so in the meantime, let's play it safe, go through, check all the rest of the brakes, replace what needs replaced. It's been a while since I worked with front drums. And looks like it's been a while since anyone worked with these front drums. Voila! Yeah, those look pretty good, especially for sitting for that long. There we go. There's our wheel seal, what's left of him. Our inner wheel bearing, which is probably not going to make the drive home. Looking at how dirty that is. Well, Mook, I'll tell you what, someone absolutely did the brakes on this car before it was parked, because these pads look magnificent on the rear. The front one does have a little wear down here, but it's still in great shape. Because we drove it around the yard, they've been scraped and exceptionally clean. And as you can tell, our drum is in excellent condition too. So for once, Mook, I don't see any reason to replace these brakes. We could replace our wheel cylinders while I'm here, but let me use the headlamp up there, Mook. I know when I was putting a tank in, I looked at one of those wheel cylinders and saw a new bleeder on it. The bleeders aren't as clean up here as they are in the rears. So I wonder if someone put rear wheel cylinders in it. Even though these look good, I don't trust them yet, so I want to visually watch them operate and not seep. And then I'll know I'm comfortable putting the drums back on and leaving these all as they were. Let's get one of the rears off and see how they look.
Back.
Alright, here's our rears. Also very clean. You can see the paint and everything on these is brand new. This wheel cylinder is brand new when this car was parked. The rubber still looks good. All of our hardware is still present, accounted for, not rusty. All looks excellent. The pad wear is good. And our drum is also quite clean. This one does have a little bit of a ridge on it, but it's not really something I'm worried about. As long as these don't still seep, I think we're going to be just fine. With that being said, I do see a little moisture in this side versus what we saw up front. So yeah, see all the black, wet, greasy dust here. That's because this wheel cylinder was probably leaking a bit. I'm gonna clean these up. I think Mook is gonna go work on some spark plugs and tune-up stuff in the engine bay.
So I am going to be replacing spark plugs and spark plug wires, and to be on the safe side, of course, I'm going to do one plug, one wire at a time. That way they all go into the same spot they were in. Oh, I gotta get the spark plug out first. Alright, listen here, bud. Oh, you're warm. Never mind. You can keep doing you. Hiker butts, Kevin!
You better be serious about that hiker butts. You
I'm
can't just throw those out there.
very serious about these hiker butts.
I'm putting new rubber brake lines on because I looked at them twice and then I went, no, no, I don't really feel like dying.
Spark plug number 4, come on down.
I decided to replace the rubber lines up front. I don't know how well you can see it, but that little black dot in the center, that's supposed to be an open hole. Turns out, not only were these terrifying and looking like they're ready to explode, but they were junk and they wouldn't float anything. So quick and simple on these, just detach both sides. They're a line nut on each side. If you can't get it with a line wrench or a regular wrench, get your permanent pliers, your big old squeezy boys out.
Kevin, Mom said it's my turn with the camera. Kevin, come back here with your face light.
Oh wow, those are rich.
Also very warm. Hey, you dropped that.
Why are they so rich? Heck, move.
Heck.
I'll
Box.
do it. Oh, hey, box.
Oh, I'm going. That almost went in the carburetor.
Yeah, okay.
Here you go. A new spark plug for you.
What the shit is that? That's supposed to be a nice clean hole through the Venturi, but it's like there's a bug nest in it, believe it or not. I bet you that has something to do with why it runs weird. So, can of brake clean. Sounds like the way to go there.
Let's start hacking around, huh? What do you say? No, get yet.
Thanks, Mook.
Kevin's a pish.
Stop it.
Everybody tell him he's a pish.
No, we're not doing this again.
Yes, they are. It's not up for you to decide, Kevin. Ow, this block is hot. I like how you run the car and then you're like, alright, Mook, you're good to put spark plugs in.
I can't have it be too easy for you.
At this point, just spray me in the eyes with brake clean. Get out of here with your Snapchats. Don't worry, you guys will all see that on TikTok in a year. That's all that Kevin's TikTok is just old Snapchats.
It's true.
Go follow him on TikTok at Junkyard Digs. Okay, are you gonna be nice? Probably not. Why do I even ask? Here is number 6. God, these are hot.
Yeah, I don't know who ran that motor before having to do that.
You're such a bite.
That's an ass.
Yeah.
You should kick his butt.
Ow!
I'll help you kick his butt later. How about that?
Box. Dang. I got the number 6 spark plug in without touching or bumping into anything. I'm pretty much a car surgeon. Box.
Wrench.
Ah!
I've decided to play it safe down here and put new wheel cylinders in.
Gross.
Did you say gross?
Yeah.
Look, if you're driving this car, I don't want you to die.
Well, that's really nice of you.
It is. I'm a real sweetheart. You know that?
Runs the engine so that I have to work on a hot block.
As I was saying, a real romantic.
We're losing camera batteries, so I'm going to finish putting these spark plugs and spark plug wires back together, and we'll get back to you.
Can you bring it over here when you're done?
No!
What?
Gosh! Hey Mook, give me this! Hey Mook, give me that! What do you want now?
While Mook is finishing up our spark plugs, I've decided to, as I mentioned prior, replace the rubber lines because they look like crap. And the more I stare at it, it's really easy to change these wheel cylinders and leave the shoes and everything installed. Half, if not less, the work as a whole brake job with just as much security, knowing that these pads and everything are good and these seals aren't gonna blow out when I hit the brakes at an emergency stop and then I careen into some small family and, you know, dent the car. Never mind the family, they'll grow back, but cars, non-organic. All right, Mook, let's see how good you did. Pull the lever, Kronk. It revs super crisp, like perfect. That is absolutely textbook. The idle's still wonky. All right, kill it, Mook. Good job. That thing revs really, really good.
I didn't mess up the firing order!
You did an excellent job. Those new plugs and wires made a difference. Blowing that crap out of the carb made a difference. It revs awesome. Our idle is still really wonky. We'll get to that later. For now, I think we're going to try to finish out the wheel cylinders for tonight. Let's go show you guys how to do rears. Alright, so you're joining me at the back of the car for a quick lesson on how to change wheel cylinders without removing the entire brakes from a car. This is the quick and easy solution to having good, safe brakes if you're questioning your cylinders, but the hardware and pads still look good. Step 1, obviously, remove wheel. Step 2, brake drum. Set that guy aside, believe it or not, we'll need him later. Alright, so as you can see here, typical GM brakes, we have a spring right here, the front, the rear, and we need to remove both of those. Grab it with the pliers, just roll them forward, and I like to use these studs as a lever point, and just pull it in backwards. Once those two are loose, you'll be able to open up your shoes a little bit, just like that. Go ahead and take this bar out from the middle, keep the spring on the end, set him aside. At this point, same thing with the pliers again, just for convenience sake. I'll remove this rod. Reach in here, pull out your little nipples. Grab your 5/16 wrench, reach around the back, find the bleeder screw. Oh, yep, sure as shit. Took that little push pin out and fluid started pissing on the ground out of this one. So all of these wheel cylinders, despite looking good, were blown. Wow. And I just about went, I wonder if these will be okay. Take your bleeder out because you're going to need him out of the way in order to get that all to pop out. 7/16 wrench. Go ahead and loosen your line. Seeing that we're in the magical land of Texas, I don't even need to look at it to know that it's coming off just fine because there's no rust. It's incredible. Alright, once your line is disconnected, you've got 2 bolts on the back, also 7/16. Put your wrench on them. Pop those guys out. There's 1. There's 2. At this point, grab your wheel cylinder, pull them out, rotate them, and it'll come right on out. If you need to do any cleanup, now's your chance. Go ahead and spray anything down that you need to spray down, wipe anything, blah, blah, blah. Once that is done, time for your new wheel cylinder. Just like the old one, we're going to remove this bleeder screw so that we can wiggle him in there. The reason we do that is because if you don't, you can't do that twist. Go ahead and remove the rubber stopper Grab your line back here. You're going to want to aim him right into this hole when you line everything up. Lay it on its back. Roll it up into place. Line up our line with our hole. This might fall off, that's fine. Press that into place, grab your 2 bolts. Struggle to find the hole. Classic story. Where the frick, get the hell in there? We've all been there. Obviously, your second one follows. Before I tighten these up when there's still a little wiggle room, I like to go ahead and reach back and get my line started because they don't always mesh up perfectly. And it's a big pain in the ass when everything's stationary and really taut. This gives you the ability to wiggle it around and find that first thread. Even leaving it loose, that was still a pain in the ass, so just, anticipate that. Don't get frustrated, take your time, it's not worth cross-threading anything. Once your line is on, go ahead and tighten up your 2 mounting bolts for the wheel cylinder itself. Run the first one in until you feel some tension, and then switch to the other one, because it's probably going to walk it back into place. And then go back to the first one. Alright, she's in. If need be, now is a good time to clean up both of these push pins. Throw some anti-seize on the back. Push both of your push pins into place before you line the front one up. Grab that push bar we talked about. Wide end goes to the rear, spring to the front. He's going to grab both this black plate of the back shock and the parking brake swing arm. They're both going to go in this groove right here. It is also going to be pointing out in the fact that there's a bow in it, essentially. Make sure that's out of the car. Once he's in place, push your shoes together. You're going to want to make sure that that bar lines up and both pins for the wheel cylinder line up. If this guy fell off, reinstall him now. Next is your self-adjuster bar. Going to use the same method I used to take it off to put it back on. Right against one of the lug studs. There we go. Green rear spring goes in the hole, rolls over. Once again, use that pry method to loop him onto the self-adjuster rod we just installed. There we go. Always wear safety glasses during this, by the way. Make sure that plate stays up against there. He's going to want to walk around until you get both components on the pin, the other one being our last spring. And there we go. New wheel cylinder is installed. At this point, I will take some brake clean and a rag or a light brush and clean the pad surfaces as well as the drum, because grease, believe it or not, in your brake system, it doesn't work very well. Center our pads, or shoes, sorry. Oh, I almost forgot. Make sure you put your bleeder back on for the wheel cylinder, or else they're going to bleed really well and for a very long time. And especially you down south, put your little caps on so that the bugs don't make little nests inside of them. Or if you're up north, so they don't rust solid. Then you can't use them as bleeders anymore. Alright, on to the fronts. Oh, my body.
Okay, I got the 2 lines out of the master cylinder here. Now we're just gonna loosen the back 2 nuts here. There we go. Moss leverage. There we go. Master cylinder is out. Okay, time to get the new master cylinder on. Wow, Kevin.
I should have loosened those shoes a little.
You're doing great. Nice and tight. Okay.
Step 1, bench blade the master. I already hear the bubbles of success. Down. Big bubbles. Oh no, this one has a duck in it too.
Down.
The seals are just getting wet. Alright, all the way up.
Up.
Down again. You go a little faster.
Down.
Up. Alright, Mook. First inch, please. You can do it way faster than that. So as you can see, each one of those movements, which is only about this far, is getting a bubble out. And you can do a lot of these a lot faster than you can do full strokes on the pedal. Plus, I found this to be way more thorough. It gets every little bubble out. And you can look down, I can't really show it with the camera, but you can look down at the port. And if you see a little bit of shininess in the port, that's a bubble. And you keep going until that shininess is gone. It's just a black emptiness under there. That is when there's no more bubbles. So we're going to keep at this for a while, and once all those stop, we will hook our lines back up and start bleeding the brakes. Alright, update time. We bled the front brakes, and they came out excellent, and then we figured, you know what, while the car's up in the air, let's change the front shocks out. And I immediately broke one of the retaining nuts off and could not get that hardware out, which is only slightly problematic because it's still in place. The bigger problem is if I spent the half hour and got that bolt out, we don't have any other bolts here. So these shocks don't look that bad. I think they'll be just fine for the drive home. Might be a little bumpy. Once we get home and we have hardware and a lift and all that, we can deal with all this stuff. But for now, as you can tell, our front brakes are on. Everything's looking good up here. I think the next step is an oil change, and then we will drop this thing back on the ground, move our jack stand to the rears, replace our rear soft line, and bleed the rear brakes, and then do U-joints and a little bit of tuning, just clean a couple things up. We're out of here, Mook.
Yeah!
Not bad. It's not even noon on the third day.
Back to the land where all bugs are not as big and don't want to kill you.
Yeah, and there's corn.
Corn!
And
well,
usually a breeze.
Actually, there's a little bit of corn behind you.
Is there?
A little taste of iron.
It fell out of me. How long do you think these radiator hoses are gonna last?
2 minutes. I'll go get your oil change stuff. Don't forget to open the little vent and everything. Oh, Kevin, you just threw it!
How about a 1-inch socket?
Okay. Okay, but you don't get the ratchet with it.
Oh, I lied.
You son of a bitch.
7/8?
Oh, God. Oh, crap. Come on, camera.
It definitely needed changed.
Well, at least there wasn't water.
Yeah. No, it feels pretty good. There's not even a lot of sludge on the end of this magnet.
That's good.
Not to say there's none, because there is some.
Right.
But it's just very fine paste, not big sad metal chunks. We'll get this drained, change our filter out, and fill her all up from above. Alright, we got everything buttoned up underneath. It's time now to fill her back up with some good stuff. Starting off with some of the Spt Oil Treatment. The reason we run this is because it is the cheapest form of zinc you can buy. Because we're all... Whoa! Thank God it's so thick. I just about dumped that all over my phone. If you have a Ford motor older than 1984, or a Chevy engine older than the late 80s, I don't remember exactly, chances are they have a flat tappet camshaft, and you need to run zinc in your oil, or else that camshaft will get worn out. Old oils used to come with zinc, but with the advent of catalytic converters for emissions, they realized the zinc in the oil was bad for the catalyst in the catalytic converter, and they took it out. What the zinc does is acts as a sacrificial layer for your camshaft so that your lifters do not wear out the lobes of your camshaft. 2 bottles of this should be more than enough zinc protection for any worn out motor. We should be able to fill this sucker up with some fresh, clean oil, and we'll be done with the front of this car, minus any tuning or issues we have not run into yet.
Meep. It dips down there a little bit.
What are those?
These are lug nuts.
Who are they for?
They are for the customers that buy our merch that is being re-released. It's being revived.
For many months now, you've been emailing us asking, hey, Mook and Kevin, where the hell's the merch? Why are you out of all but like 6 shirts? And the answer, as we said for months, was that we were outsourcing our merch to someone local in town, a good friend of ours, which is exactly what we've done. And finally, we're ready to sell merch again.
That's right. We are rolling out a pre-order for all of our merch. That includes the old designs and even a couple new ones. Like this one.
And this one.
Look at the back of it.
This might just be the front of it because the backs and some of them are blank. Alongside... Don't fall.
Oh, I lost all of them except for 2.
Alongside all the t-shirts and sweatshirts, we're finally releasing the hats you guys have been asking about, as well as some stickers and koozies. All this will be on pre-order on junkyarddigs.com. And to sweeten the deal, we have an extra offer for you.
These. Oh, there's 8 left. Once again.
Right now, if you go onto the website and use the code LUGNUTS, you will be entered for a chance to win one of the lug nuts from this car, as well as a signed sticker by both Mook and myself.
We have 19 lug nuts. One of the wheels only had 4.
17 for sure. Oh, no,
Yeah.
18 for sure. I don't know where the other one went.
I'll get him later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Good.
So head to junkyarddigs.com, check out some of the new merch, and make sure to enter the code LUGNUTS for your chance to win one of the original lug nuts from the Texas Cutlass and a signed sticker by Mook and I.
Yes. Okay, there's 7 left.
Ta-da! Old soft line, which was once again completely plugged and no fluid flowed through it. We'll replace him, bleed these rears, and we're good to go. Oh, we also need to do U-joints and check fluid level in the rear. What else here?
Okay.
Now we just pull this out of here. Nothing came out. Alright, let's do some U-joints, Mook.
Alright.
I don't foresee them making it home, and I don't want it to be broke down on the side of the road. Hey, that output shaft is not as wiggly as I anticipated it being. I'll take that. Alright, so I've managed to make it this far in life without having to deal with these before. These specifically being the factory plastic cast U-joints that GM put in their drive shafts. Every A-body I've had to do U-joints on, I think they've already been replaced with the clip style, or we just changed drive shafts, the Le Mans. Right here and right here, there's 2 nipples. Same on the other side, this one's missing. But what these are is they place the caps and the U-joints in place, and then they inject plastic in here, and it hardens and locks these in place. And what you have to do is heat them up until all of this plastic comes out, and then you can pound it out like a normal U-joint. So, that being said, let's get the torch. Alright, I guess that's good. Alright, we just do that a whole bunch more until all the plastic's out of them and then pound them out, I guess. So, apparently they can explode. Didn't know that, but now I do. Either way, we got this side done. Let's see if we can pound the thing out. Surprisingly enough, there was some grease left in there. It did. I mean, they don't look great, don't get me wrong. They're 100,000 mile U-joints supposedly. So I trust them about as far as I can throw them, which is pretty far once they cool off, mind you. That's all it takes. There's an old U-joint. Surprisingly, there was some grease in there, so these weren't bad per se. They were non-greasable, so I couldn't grease them like I would have wanted to before a XXX 100-mile drive home. Do we know how far we are from home? 784 miles. Oof. Which I don't think this would have done. Right, clean this up, rinse and repeat on that side, install new U-joints back in the car. Alright, U-joints. These can go sideways real fast if you don't know what you're doing. The biggest thing to keep in mind is don't ever give these pins an opportunity to fall over within this cap, because they do have the ability to sit sideways in the bottom, and when you try to run your cap on, there'll be a pin in the way, and won't go in all the way. You'll smash one of the pins, and then you got to go find a pin from another U-joint or some dumb shit to make this work. To avoid this, we're going to ensure that at any point we are hammering on this, we have engagement from this dowel into those pins. And we make sure that it can go down all the way. If that dowel is in between those pins at least halfway or so, there's no way for the pins to fall over because they're all pressed against the outside of this bearing cap. So keeping that in mind, we're going to take these off and set them aside. Trying to remember which dowel they go on. And then we're going to go ahead and put our bearing receiver in the center and twist this on until we feel him seat all the way. Make sure there's no dowels inside that cap. Now, we just drive that cap down into place. And they make presses for this. That's the easier way to do this. But I don't have one, and I'm going to guess a lot of people watching this don't have one. You can rent them from O'Reilly's. I'm making sure to hit the fattest part on the very edge of the cap as flat as I can, and I'm just doing a circle. Flush. I can see that I've got a good amount of the ring lam sticking out. I'm going to take one of these clips and I'm going to try to keep him centered, because if this clip gets too far this way or this way, the end of the clips will run into the yoke and it'll actually keep it from seating all the way. So when you're pounding this in place right here, make sure it doesn't go all one direction. Make sure it tries to get both ends in like that. Textbook. Alright, there we go. We got one cap on. Now we're going to rotate this. We're going to lift our carrier here, and we're going to make sure that we can insert that standoff for the bearing. My brain's shutting off, it's really hot. We're going to make sure we can insert that into the cap. We've got free movement, and then we'll start pounding this one home. Keep forward, upward pressure on it. Make sure he still moves as you're going. Make sure you can still do a little up down. Make sure that none of the bearings have fallen over. And just like that, our U-joint is in the drive shaft. Oh, stop it. Go on straight, U. One thing you can do at this point is shock the yoke. That will center your bearing so that it's really easy to move. That right there, and making sure that these are half engaged with the dowel at all times, are my biggest tips for U-joints. At this point, I will simply rinse and repeat the same exact process with this yoke, making sure I got full engagement. Whoops, lost full engagement. I'm going to stop, inspect everything. I had one bearing starting to fall. Looking good. I can see the rubber meets our carrier in the center. Flop this guy off to the side. Once again, drop halfway out of the bottom, so we're halfway into the top. And just like that, with nothing more than a hammer and a torch, we have new U-joints in our drive shaft. Oh, and a pair of pliers. Because obviously. That feels 1,000 times better than our old U-joints, and it is now greasable. Let's get this back in the car.
Gosh, they're cool. Also, that bottle cap is full of water that I gave to him. We didn't litter.
Hopefully the last bolt on this car right here. Yeah. There goes the barrel. Alright. I need to check the fluid level on the diff and recheck all our fluid levels up front, and it's time for a test drive. Whee! There's the spare. Time for a test drive. Ta-da! We go forward, we stop. We go forward, we stop. Hop on in, Hector.
Test drive time.
Test drive time. Family got to see the car again. Oh, God. That is the longest seatbelt buzzer ever.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe if we put our seatbelts on, it'll shut up. I know it won't. I know this is not how this works. No, look. Here. Nope, that was coincidence. Turn off, please, for the love of God. Well, this is a pleasant drive.
Yeah.
The car just screaming.
Ready for 13 hours of this?
Hey, transmission works. we're in high gear. It pulls pretty good. Alright, brakes.
Wow!
They work.
Seat's locked now.
They work like drums, where they just grab suddenly. And you go, woohoo! Wow, that ain't bad for a 2-barrel.
Dang.
Let me in.
Oh.
I can change the tone. Okay, I've got the wiring harness for that bastard. Come here, you. In case you've ever wondered, it's the green and black wires. Oh,
That's probably, yeah.
damn it. I just pulled a Phoenix. Okay, we'll deal with those when we get back. Oh, shit, there's a car behind me.
Oh.
Okay, so we got the buzzer to stop. The fasten seatbelt light's still on, so it looks like I need to just figure out what circuit or whatever controls all that and eliminate it all. And then we'll be good. As far as the car goes, though, it drives like any other A-body I've ever drove, which is absolutely flawless. Just floats down the road. It's dead silent in this one with the 2-barrel, which has a surprising amount of pep for a 2-barrel. I'm impressed. Our dust cap fell off. It's rolling around in the inside of the wheel hub, of the wheel cap.
Yeah, I hear it.
That's pretty damn good. You want to drive it, Mook?
Oh my god, the dust cap is so loud over here.
Yeah, it's just... So, I don't think we even talked about that on camera, but one of the dust caps would not stay on. So I tried to like make it a little out around and get it to stay, but I must not have done it well enough. And it fell off and it's rolling around inside the hubcap. It's fine.
It's like a little maraca.
What do you think, Mook?
I love it.
You love it?
I love it.
You do daily?
Yes. What the heck
Yes.
is that? Talk to me.
Oh, that's a speedometer cable. I don't worry about those little details.
It's telling me about speed. I'm taking them on the inside.
How's the brakes, Mook? The brakes are good, Mook.
Good. They're there.
You'll love to see it.
Yeah, no.
Some last repairs before we head north?
Yeah.
Let's do it. What if I told you I could offer you a second set of arms to help you work on cars? Well, I'll tell you what, I'd be lying. I unfortunately cannot do that, but what I can do is free up the one set of hands and arms you already have to keep working on a job while doing such important things as taking phone calls for your business or simply listening to music. And the way to do that is with the sponsor of today's video, Raycon, and their everyday earbuds. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound fantastic. They feature a 32-hour battery life in their wireless charging case, and the earbuds themselves hold up to 8 hours of battery. That's pretty impressive, seeing how small these are. And what else is impressive with their size is how well they fit in your ear and stay in your ear. It doesn't matter if you're working underneath a car or in an engine bay or completely upside down under a dash. If you're whipping your head around, these little suckers aren't going anywhere, and you can still answer phone calls and work while using your hands. Here we go. 1, 2. On top of being wireless, the Raycon everyday earbuds are seamless. Open the case, and they connect to your phone. Close the case, and they turn off and disconnect from your phone. Want to listen to just one? Pull that one out of the case, close the case, throw it across the shop, and just that one will remain on and connected to your phone while the other one sits in here charging. If you're like me and you do accidentally throw these across the shop, don't worry, they are very durable and water resistant. These things have taken a beating over the last 4 years that I've owned a pair, and I am yet to break one. On top of all of this, these suckers are pretty advanced inside. They offer 3 profiles for sound: a pure sound profile, a balanced profile, and a bass profile, as well as noise isolation mode or awareness mode, which allows you to safely wear these and still hear what's going on around you, which once again is great for a shop environment such as this. So if you're ready to increase your efficiency in the shop and free up the only set of hands God gave you, click the link in the description box or head to buyraycon.com/JYD for 15% off your order. That's buyraycon.com/JYD. All right, let's get back to the video. Morning, Mook.
Morning.
Today is the day. We're cleaning up the windows, and once that is done, it is time to go north.
Wow, this one's so clean.
We have 787 miles to go until we're home. A few pit stops to make along the way, and a confidence rate of about 70% that we're going to make it. 100% we're going to make it. 70% we're going to make it under the car's own power without any issues.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take those odds. Say we go back to the land of regular bugs and corn, Mook.
Yeah.
The Cutlass agrees. Alright, out the lane for the last time in its life. A little cold-blooded. Northbound to Iowa. We are starting our journey at 105,689 miles. Before we start the big trip north though, I do need to document a monumental moment. For the first time in 23 years, the Cutlass has returned to Henderson, Texas. Welcome back, old girl. Alright, that's a full tank. Well, we put 10 in it, so it makes sense, 18-gallon tank. I doubt our fuel gauge is going to work, so we'll go 100 miles and stop and refill it till it clicks again, do some math, and see what our mileage is.
Alright.
2-barrel probably does pretty okay. Ready to hit the road?
Yep.
Let's do it. Alright, here we go. 105,692 miles. Well, that says 792. We'll stop again and fill up and see what our mileage is. So long, Henderson, Texas. Been pretty good. A lot of good little restaurants here. Let's take you to your new home, Cutlass. Get you some paint work and everything else you need. Specifically a new carburetor, because man, this thing hates cruising. It goes down the road like... When I punch it though, it opens up and runs really clean, so I know it's just the cruising circuits are a little dirty. If I were to punch it and it also doesn't run well, that could be fuel issues, but nope, we're good. Alright, our first 50 miles are done. Car's still running good, running the same anyway. I should probably check the timing. I never did do that before. It's kind of surgy and you get into it and it's either too much vacuum advance because the initial's too high, or it finally gets fuel because the car's a little dirty. I don't really know. Still no fuel gauge, so we must have ground that wire out or shorted the wire out somewhere, but man. And at 50 miles we'll stop and get gas and check everything over. We're in Morris, Texas. Someone in the comments, what the hell is this? And is it abandoned or half abandoned? Oh, U.S. Steel Tubular Products. It looks like half abandoned. Yeah, that's abandoned. Interesting. Someone in the comments, hit me with the history on that. I want to know about it. Alright, our first 100 miles is done. I would love to stop and get some gas right now and check everything out, but I forgot. We're in the desolate state of Texas, and there isn't shit for another 40 miles. So I guess we're going to go to 140 and check everything out. Wish us luck. Also, what the hell, Texas? 75 on a 2-lane. This state is terrifying to drive in. This is a 75. Look at the center dots. There's no shoulders. There's a good sized ditch. The road surface sucks, and I'm in an A-body. This is insane. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the Cutlass has left Texas. Seeing that the same woman owned this car her entire life and never really drove very far, this might be the first time this car's ever left Texas since it was sold at the dealership. Alright, we've got our sights set on Pole Barn Garage in Kansas City, so let's head north. Oh, 8.7 gallons. Alright, let's do some math. 150 miles, 8.7 is about 17 miles a gallon, which is really good. Let's check some bearings and shit and get back on the road. Well, it's good to know that light works at least. Yeah, I bet she got warm sitting here. Let's get the hood open on it. Yeah, she's warm. I'm not surprised at all. Honestly, surprised we made it this far and got to the point that we stopped before that even happened. Best thing to do now is either get back on the road and get some air through the radiator or let it idle and let that fan run a little bit. She's got a good clutch fan in it with a shroud, so that should pull everything down. Let's grab the temp gun and see what we're at. Oh yeah, it's a little warm. 210, 220, oh boy. 212 in the rad. We'll let this idle and cool a little bit while I check the bearing preloads up front, make sure nothing's got loose. Oh yeah, she's coming down a touch already. Alright, so this is something I do that I don't usually show on camera. I like to get the car up in the air and give the tire a wiggle after like 100 miles on a new set of wheel bearings. And then by the end of this trip, usually I will take the tire back off, pop the dust cap off, and see if that nut needs tightened, a little more preload, because the grease will work out of the bearing. We're down to 206. Oh,
now you got it.
I was trying to tighten it. It could use a little. All she wanted. Alright, Mook, let's get back on the road. The next part's the sketchy part. The 100-something mile mountain pass where there is nothing for stores or anything that whole time. We got this shit. So here's the thing I'm most worried about right now. Ooh, hang on, never mind. There's something else I'm more worried about. Look at that. Nice. The thing I'm most worried about right now is something I experienced way too many times in the past, and that is old fuel pumps you don't change out. Like this one. Fuel pump sits for a long time, they usually still work, but they won't work forever. They will soon die thereafter. And that usually happens when you get an engine warm, and then you park it and you let it cool down. Next time you hop in and hit that key, that fuel pump seizes up, or the diaphragm fails, or any of the above really. And in whatever distance you can go off of the gas that's just in the bowl, you suddenly realize that you no longer have a fuel pump. If anything's gonna get us, it's gonna be that or overheating. And we have radiator hoses and a different radiator to fix the overheating and a new fuel pump. Either way, we're back on the road now, so let's head north towards Pole Barn Garage in Kansas City. 6.5 hours. Holy shit, this needs shocks. Alright, now the true test. This is gonna be fun. As we make our way north through the curves, I figure now is a great time to fill you guys in on the story of the 72 Cutlass. Now this story is as told by Donna, who was the original person to email us and tell us about the car, as well as ask that we come to Texas and get it running. Here's the story of the car that I wrote for my nieces and nephews. I guess I'll talk about how Mother's car came to be. It will seem like the story is about me, but stay with me until the end and you'll see it's about Mother. I started driving when I was about 12. I loved cars and I could identify many of them just by the grille or the taillights or the wheels. I was obsessed, especially with what are now known as muscle cars. I was always pointing out cars to Mother and she'd just blow me off. She wasn't even slightly interested. At the time, our family had a 62 Chevy Impala that we had all learned to drive in. Mother drove very little in her early years, and she had never had a driver's license. One day when I was 17, I drove by Monco Motors in Center, Texas, and saw the car. It called to me and sang and danced, or maybe I sang and danced. I couldn't wait. I went home to get Mother and showed her this car. It was a 72 old Cutlass S. brown with a gold fleck in the paint, light beige vinyl top, and the gorgeous Cutlass wheels. When I brought Mother, she paused and said, "Now, I like that." And that was all I needed to hear. The next morning, I was at the pump station by 7 a.m. talking to my father about the car. I didn't go to school that day. I stayed with him almost constantly, begging for that car. Later in the afternoon, I finally convinced him to go to the dealership with me. I went on and on about how wonderful this car was. However, the salesman could tell that my father was not convinced. He walked down the rows of cars to a black Monte Carlo. "Now, I can make you a really good deal on this little beauty," he said. Dad started walking toward him, but I never moved. He stopped midway between me and the salesman, slowly looked at him, and then at me. He looked down for a moment and then said, "No, she wants this one." He went in to take care of the paperwork and just left me there. I remember sitting in the showroom and one of the ladies came out and pointed to one of the cars. She said I could have just waited for the new 73 Cutlass, and boy, I tell you, I'm glad I didn't. The 73 was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. Long story short, that afternoon, we drove the Cutlass home. Mother babied that car. She rinsed the dust off every morning before I'd leave for school, and extra carpet pieces were placed over the original carpet to protect it. We even knocked off our shoes before we got in. It all seemed like way too much, but you have to remember, Mother had few new things in her life, much less a car. At first, I was the principal driver and she hardly ever drove it. I could count on my fingers, with some left over, the times that Daddy drove it. I turned 18 and finally got my driver's license in that car. I put about 35,000 miles on it before I went to college. I remember her taking me to Marshall and then watching her drive away alone with the Cutlass. Knowing that she would not have a car to drive, I gave her the Cutlass when I went to college. She later told me that not many kids would go to college and leave their car behind. I just told her that I didn't pay for it, so I shouldn't keep it. The truth was that I knew my father would never buy another car. Some have taken issues with Dad buying that car for me and not Mother, and I have to agree it shouldn't have been that way. However, that was the only way a new car would have ever come into our family. God provided for Mother, and she drove that muscle car into her 80s. Young guys would always ask if she would sell it, and her answer was always no. She tried to sign the car over to me one time. We had the title and pen in hand, but I stopped her and told her I couldn't. I knew it may raise issues in the family, and it just wasn't worth it to me. But all that doesn't matter now. She was able to drive the car until a couple months before she passed. She was always thankful for it, and more times than I can count, said praise the Lord every time the wheels turn. That was Mother, and even though Daddy bought it for me, that was Mother's car. So there you have it. That is the story of the 72 Cutlass. It was bought brand new off the lot, owned by the same family, and driven by the same old lady up until she passed in 1999. I can only imagine seeing an 80-year-old woman with gray hair driving around Henderson, Texas in her 72 Cutlass. After she passed, the car sat for about 5 years at Donna's brother's place, and then eventually was moved out into the shed, exactly where we found it when we showed up in part 1. And now, 3 days later, it's driven all the way to Kansas City.
It's been rolled and burned.
So if you guys have not heard of this man right here, this is Dalton from BARNFIND Garage.
Hello.
He's an up-and-coming YouTube channel who's caught my attention because of the crazy shit he builds. It is like the Le Mans, but the Le Mans looks like a show car in comparison to some of the stuff that drives around here, and I love it.
Well, look, it just needs some TLC, okay? I mean...
What the hell's in front of us right now?
Well, this is a Plymouth Roadrunner, a real one, 383 4-speed car. And it's been rolled, if you can't tell. I know, you gotta squint, kind of find it. And that is after I poured a power to the roof.
So it was crushed
It
in.
was flat. Somebody died in it.
Oh.
No doubt.
What'd you say you're calling this one?
The Rolled Runner.
The Rolled Runner. That is amazing. And then there's, of course, your flagship, which is...
The Holy Goat is out there.
I can see the light bouncing off of it in random directions over there. This is your 69 GTO? 70. So this is a 70 GTO that was target practice, right?
Yes, it's a real 70 GTO, and this is the Holy Goat. Came out of Texas.
Hey, I got one of those.
Yeah. You know,
A-body out of Texas.
It's got side lights.
This is awesome. The hood must not be from this car.
It is.
What? Was it on the car?
Yeah.
No one hit it.
It's got some,
some
there.
ricochets.
There's a few ricochets.
There's some bullet holes.
I don't know.
It
was bolted to it, too. But the only thing not original is the deck lid, actually. I decorated that myself. She's been sitting for a minute. We just drove this 2,000 miles to Texas, actually.
God. Do you get there's a whistle when it goes down the road?
Well, it's like a dog whistle. So, like, if you're,
You'll never hit a deer.
Like dogs bark for miles. I mean, it's real bad.
Never be hit by this
stuff. One big deer whistle. It's really good.
Well, we're going to drink some beers about it, get to know each other a little better. You guys can look him up, Pole Barn Garage, on YouTube and Instagram.
I highly recommend it.
It is a good time.
Hey, Kevin.
Yo.
Look at this bumper sticker.
Oh, you got to get one of those, man.
Oh, dude. Morning, Mook.
Burn.
You're in a good mood.
Which is weird, because I did not have my coffee today.
Is it possibly because you're the one driving
Yeah.
the Cutlass the rest of the way home?
Yeah.
That's right. We're going to get this thing fired up, see if the fuel pump seized overnight, like I've been afraid. And then I'm going to hand you guys off to Mook for the rest of the drive home. Yeah.
You got fuzz in your beard.
You have
Look
beard
at
and...
fuzzy.
All right.
Some for the car, some for you.
We got 4 hours to drive home from here.
Yeah.
Another 250 miles or something like that. I don't remember. Let's see if this thing starts. And now we wait. See if it runs off the bowls and dies or keeps running. This is a shaky bastard. This stinks up here. It smells like fuel. What did I say, Mook? Said we had trouble with the fuel pump, right? Look at. I smelled gas before we left and decided to double check, and sure as shit, there's gas spraying everywhere. I'm gonna go fire it up and see if you can see where it's coming from. Oh, it's our feed line, isn't it? Alright, well that's not as bad as I thought. Good opportunity to put a filter in place, huh, Mook?
Yeah.
That's something I meant to do before we left, but I forgot. Let's just hope the fuel pump issues stop here. It's dry! Woohoo! Back on the road. See you in Iowa, Stinky.
You stink. Alright, attempt 2. Where's my seatbelt? Oh.
What do you want?
What do you want? You get in my car, I'm just trying to drive, and you're like, oh no, you can't drive, there's fuel leaking everywhere.
What?
And then I get back in.
Yeah, you're right. I'll not save
And then,
your life
and then,
next
then,
time.
then I get back in, and you're like, walking over, knocking on the roof, and you're like, listen, I'm just trying to drive home.
Are you done?
I want to go see Nugget.
Okay.
Kevin stinks. I said what I said what I said. I said what I said. This pitch. I swear to heck. Whee. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Got you some filtered fuel now. How about that?
Take the next right onto Northeast Lakewood Way.
No, Pish. This is gonna be an adventurous drive, guys. Hold on. Whee! Oh, there goes the everything. I don't actually know if you guys can see me, but I'm driving. Here we go. Whee! Alright, I'm trying to pick you guys up. Hang on. I'm just a mess of a human, okay? Okay, so we got 227 miles until home. Oh, you can't even see me. I'm driving the Cutlass. I can love it. Of course, everybody's passing me, and this thing needs shocks. Okay, I have put on roughly 50 miles on this car, and I love it. I honestly love it. 173 more miles to go. This car's been driving really well. I really like it. I honestly might have to take it from you, Kevin. You already have a Cutlass, and, well, you see, you have to share. That's the Mook exit! Ah! Alright, there's another 90 on the odometer, which means that's another 100 miles on this car. I think that puts us at 700. Looks like we got another 130 or so to go, which is about 2 hours. Everything's still going well.
Hey, Mook.
Hey.
How's it going?
My radiator cap is leaking.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's been leaking for a bit.
Oh, no. Well, we need to fill that up. Good luck, buddy. Yeah. I think it was upset. Wow.
Watch your feet.
Okay, I didn't think it would be this obnoxious, to be fair. We'll just... Okay.
We're just giving it a radiator flush.
Yeah, just a quick grab flush. Alright, well, let's fill up the gas tank, and then we'll fill up the water tank and put a new radiator cap on. How far we got left?
About 120 miles. You can do it!
Man, I don't know who made this mess out here. Oops. Now, I don't want to say it's overheated yet, but it's definitely not running cool. So I think you guys should be able to see, but the ends of our radiator cores, not looking great. That radiator's probably about done for. I did bring a new one with if it gets to that point, but honestly, I think we just throw a new cap on that holds pressure better, which resists boiling, and we should be able to make it the remaining 120 miles home just fine. Oh, you got the goods.
I got the goods.
I let all the bads out.
You made a mess! Alright, hopefully all the chaos is done. Fix the cooling system issues, hopefully. And now we're gonna keep on going. We got her.
That thing got a heavy.
You know it.
I get to be on YouTube. Yeah.
So we're actually taking a detour quick. We are stopping to get a transmission, hopefully for my Nova. And I gotta turn my walkie-talkie on so Kevin can call me Stinky for like the whole trip.
Mook stinks.
Yep, he's already started. Alright, let's hit the road, Kevy.
Okay.
Here we go. Up to get my transmission. My Burt Nova. Comes Kevin. Oh my god, we made it. Next to the whaler where the bugs are smaller. Not everything wants to kill me. And there's corn.
Welcome to Iowa.
Yeah! Thank you!
I could be wrong, but I think those were known for that. Oh yeah, here, Mook.
I got a transmission for my Nova.
You got a transmission for your Nova. Sit.
Stay.
All right, let's go home.
Okay, we picked up the transmission for my burnt Nova. We're getting back on the road. Looks like we've got about... Thanks, Kevin. Looks like we got about 78 miles left. Let's do it. I accidentally missed when we passed another 90. That's either 700 or 800. I cannot remember. I think it might be 800 actually. Yeah, I think that's 800. About half hour away from home. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm just a silhouette at this point. But we're making it to our exit. It's about a half mile up there, which means we're about 10 minutes from home. Yay! This car drove all the way from Texas back to Iowa after sitting for 23 years and never ever leaving the state of Texas. Now to gear the rest of the way home. Whew, it's warm out today.
Heck yeah, Mookers. What's your official odometer reading?
106,534.
So that's like what, 850 miles?
Yeah.
I'll do the math on screen. Good job, Hecker.
Thanks.
All things considered, sitting for 23 years, that was a really easy revival. Put a tank in it, battery, clean the points, plugs and wires, tires, wheel cylinders, and hit the road. Well, I don't know about you, Mook, but I'm hungry, tired, and I need a shower.
You need a shower? You had AC. I need a shower.
Yeah, you do. You stink.
Oh, that's enough.
So there you go, folks. We made it home. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Junkyard Digs, where we brought the 1972 Cutlass from Texas back to life after 23 years and drove 850 miles home. Even though the road trip is over, the story of this car is long from being done. To see the rest of it, where we clean up the paint and body on this car, make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Thank you to Micah, June, and Donna down in Texas who sold us the car. Thank you to Pole Barn Garage for the beers, and thank you to Mook for all your help this week. We'll see you guys right here for another episode of Junkyard Digs next week. Peace.
Cat.
You need to shut up during the outros, kitty.
Sometimes I say that to you,
Sometimes
too.
I say that to you.
You leave Hobbs alone.